Hi guys, I am Anne and this is the Health Hub. Today we'll be talking about things that they don't teach doctors in med school. Top 5 things. That's it. So today we'll be talking about the top 5 things that they don't teach your doctors in medical school to better equip them for the real world. Is basically doses, and that's something that you have to, as an individual, maybe as someone who's in medical school, to go and find out for yourself and find books and study it on your own. For me personally, because on holidays I would by bursary I was expected to work at a local clinic. A lot of the stuff I learned there in terms of the doses, like of Augmentin, the dose of Panado and things like that. So I had to, learn that myself. And it's important that you teach yourself that, because you don't want to be like an intern who doesn't know doses. So you want to learn at least the most common medication lists and be able to just cram and try to remember the doses for the common medications that you will be forced to prescribe on a regular day basis. The commonest cause of people getting wrong prescriptions is because basically the doctors aren't writing clear enough. So you find people getting the wrong medication, the wrong doses of the medication, because their writing is so bad. And it's not a competition. Like, you don't want to have a doctor's handwriting. I know some people fall into this whole thing. What's this? What is this? Because I know a lot of people will force themselves to have a bad handwriting, or just not work at having their handwriting, clear enough, just so that they said to be good doctors. But there's no such. It's important for one to write clear in a way there's no mistakes that will happen. So number 2 is finances and financial literacy. I still, in my heart of hearts, still believe and feel that this should be a subject that should be done in every university and given to every doctor in every university, because a lot of doctors fall into debt because we don't know any better. Like, we weren't taught how to handle money, we weren't taught where to store money, what to do with our money for our money to make us money. Instead, we fall into the system of spending and or overly spending money that we don't even have. So I think this should be important, because even medicine as a whole, it's one of those like careers that can be turned to a business very easily, because doctors are able to open GP practices, and the whole practice, the way it functions, is basically you need to have a bit of knowledge with finances and business. Then maybe in the meantime, because it's not a subject as of yet, as someone who is recently graduated or starting with their job for the first time, it's important that you find an independent financial advisor, not a financial advisor from like a company, because those ones tend to try to push their agenda and push the products of the company instead of what actually is needed by the person, or by the client. So that's very disgusting and is wrong for them to do that. So unfortunately, that's what is done by financial advisors who are linked to companies. So it's important that you find a financial advisor either from a bank or from like an independent, whatever, a broker, whatever, a financial advisor. At least you know that they have your best interest at heart. Okay. And then number 3, skincare. So doctors aren't taught skincare. So we do a bit of dermatology. We taught skin conditions and stuff like that. We taught to identify and treat acne, blah, blah, blah. But in terms of like skincare, things like glycolic acid, niacinamide, the benefits, things like that, like I had to learn myself personally, because they don't teach you that in medical school. The only thing that was touched on at that time was things like retinol or retin A, as well as salicylic acid, but that's about it. Like, there's no depth to it, like in terms of the different types of products and the lasering, microdermaplasion, things like that, things that are probably things that estheticians deal with. But I feel like it's at least, even if we have like an introduction or a bit of knowledge when it comes to that, because then if you go to a GP, I mean, you ain't gonna get nothing. So if you go to a GP, you're gonna leave the way you were. So especially some who don't take a particular interest in that won't have any knowledge regarding that topic of skincare. So that's really hard, especially for people who can't afford to go to dermatologists. So the only way for them to have their skin problem solved is through like GPs and like generalists or general doctors. So we not, so as doctors, I think it's one thing that one has to teach themselves. I mean, it's very common, it's very popular these days. It's very important that we stay knowledgeable with such topics that are not really, that we're not exposed to like that in medical school. So number fourth thing that is not taught to doctors is how to be nice to patients or patient care and things like that. They do touch on it a little bit in family medicine, where they teach you how to break bad news, how to, things like that. They teach you things like that, but they don't get to the importance of actually just having to be a nice person and how to treat a patient, like in a consultation room, asking them how they feel, their thoughts and things like that. I know we don't have time for that, especially in public, like to be asking like, how do you feel? But it's very important that you also build a relationship with patients, and also treat them as how you would want to be treated as a human being. Because right now I can think of one experience that I had. I was still in medical school. I don't think the doctor knew I was, doctoring whatever. So it was so bad. Like, when you go to a GP and you just feel like you just wasted your money, like you just feel like, oh gosh, like I could have just, went to Clicks and gotten something over the counter, because it was a waste. Like, he kept on cutting me. Like, I couldn't even say what I came there for in full sentences. They kept on cutting me, and wasn't willing to listen, never looked up. Like, he never even looked me in the eye. He was busy like writing, looking down. And I'm sure he was just pushing the line, because the consultation lasted like, 1 minute, and and I never got even like one word, and I wasn't even actually really sick. So I can imagine like how the person deals with people actually sick, who need to be heard, who have actual problems. So that's one thing that made me, get a different view with regard to the way I interact with patients as a whole. That actually you have to explain to people what, even when you're giving them a diagnosis, you have to explain to them what it is, and be willing to answer questions and engage patients on a personal level, in terms of like just communicating with them properly as see them as human beings, like not just machines that need to be fixed. Okay, so that's one thing that they don't teach doctors, and I hope medical students listening out there don't get that bad habit of like pushing the line, of like not listening to patients, of cutting patients off, of not even looking patients in the eye, communicating in a way that is humane. Okay, so let's get to number 5. So number 5 is respect. You're not taught to respect. I mean, that's your parents' job. I mean, what are lecturers to do? But respect is very important, and we don't get taught this in medical school, because obviously the assumption is that you have it, or at least you are a decent human being, but we're not taught how to interact, or the importance of interacting with other colleagues, just the importance of it, because some people look down on nurses, look down on porters, because they think they're so superior and mighty God and whatnot. And a lot of doctors will forget that it's like we are all a system. Like, if there's no porter, then there's no one to push the patient to the ward. If there's no nurse, there's no one to actually give the medication or carry out the instructions that you write down on the prescription chart. If there is no receptionist or admin person, then people don't get their files, and then there's no paper to write your notes, because there's no one to print out the papers. I don't know, it's just like the whole system, and it's all meant to like function well. The important thing is just to respect the person next to you, the people that you're working with, because I know sometimes like nurses will teach you respect. Hey, they will make sure you put respect on their name, because sisters can be mean. Hey, and especially when they see that you come with that whole superiority complex, like they will humble you. Like, it's very, very important, especially when you want what's best for your patients, because the patients will be the ones to suffer in the end. That you respect other people, you treat them nicely, and talk to them in a way that is not degrading. So that is that on that. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you on my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.